This is a brief introduction to fractions. Fractions comes from the Latin fractus, which means broken, and it's part or whole of something. So a typical fraction is often written as something like this: 2/3. And as you can see in the table here, the top part is referred to as the numerator, and the bottom part is called the denominator. Okay, this line here is called the vinculum. And in this context, it means divide. So when you see the division sign here, these two dots stand for numbers. Or we can say integers. Okay, so the top part of the fraction is called the numerator. The line separating the top and the bottom is called the vinculum, or sometimes the fractional bar, and the number below is called the denominator. So we have some fractions here, and this is a whole, and the denominator here is just simply 1. This is a half, a quarter, and a third. So these are called unit fractions. Because the denominator is 1. This is a unit fraction as well. And this means that we have 3 parts here: 1, 2, 3, and there are 4 parts in total. So the denominator refers to how many parts make a whole. Okay, so let's have a look at some problems. Okay, so from the previous slide, we saw that the top was called the numerator and the bottom was called the denominator. Okay, now the denominator cannot be 0. It is a non-zero integer because you can't have 0 of something which make a whole of a shape. You can have 0 on the numerator because, for example, we can have how many parts are shaded there. That is 0 over 4, which is just 0. Okay, so we've got some shapes here, and I would like you to write these as fractions. Pause the video and write each of these as fractions. I'll do this one, and this is just simply a third. Pause the video and off you go. Okay, so hopefully you've done that now. Let's have a look at the answers. This is a half, quarter, third, half, 6 over 12, 1 over 4 or a quarter, a fifth, 2 quarters, and a third. Okay, so I would like to look at this fraction and this fraction. Okay, so we've got 6 over 12 and we've got 2 over 4. Now, there'll be a separate video dealing with these types of fractions. We can simplify this fraction by dividing numerator and denominator by the highest common factor to get 1 over 2. And these are equivalent fractions. The highest common factor here is 2 to get 1 over 2. And these are referred to as equivalent fractions. Okay, so let's look at another problem. Okay, so I would like you to pause the video and color in the circles to represent the fractions to the left. I will do an example. Let's do half. So there are two parts of this shape which make a whole, and I need to shade one of them. Okay, pause the video and off you go. Okay, so hopefully you've done that now. Let's look at the answers. You can mark your work, and hopefully you can see that this fraction can be simplified. Okay, we can simplify that fraction by dividing numerator and denominator by the highest common factor, which is 2, to get an equivalent fraction, which is half. Okay, so sometimes in fractions we have something which is called a mixed numeral. Or a compound fraction. And if you remember our definition, a fraction is a part or a whole and part of a shape. So for example, this fraction is split up into thirds, and we can color 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, and 5/3. Okay, so I hope you can recognize that a third plus a third plus a third is the same as 1, which is a whole. Here we have a third plus a third, which is 2/3. So if we were to express all of this as a fraction, you would have 1 and 2/3. Okay, so I would like you to visually draw these 4 mixed numerals. Okay, let's do 1.5. Let's do 3 1/3. Let's do 2/5. And let's do 3/4. Okay, so let's do number 4, and as an example, we should know that each of the shapes is split up into 4. So 4 parts make a whole. Three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we need to shade 3/4. So let's do that then. 1, 2, 3, and 1/4. Okay, I would like you to represent these shapes as mixed numerals. Pause the video. Okay, hopefully you've done that. So let's do this very quickly. So there are 2 parts which make a whole, and let's shade 1.5. Okay, here there are 3 parts. Okay, so we can shade those are the integer part, and let's do the fractional part, which is just 1/3. Okay, and finally we have 2/5. Now we know our shape is split up into fifths. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to shade 2/5 of those. Okay, so we can shade all of this, and just a fifth of this. Okay, so I hope mixed numerals are more clear to you. We can convert between mixed numerals and its improper fractions by using the following methods. And these may be new terms for you, so I'll just write down the definition. So a mixed numeral is something which we've just been doing, which is, for example, 1.5, 2 over 5, and 1/3. There's another called a improper fraction, or sometimes referred to as top heavy. Now, how do we convert each of these to an improper fraction? Well, let's do that then. We do 1 times the denominator plus the numerator. So that gives 3 over 2. Same for this. We do 2 times denominator plus numerator, which is 14 over 5. And I would like you to pause the video and write this mixed numeral as an improper fraction. Okay, so hopefully you've done that now. That is 4 over 3. Okay, so let's do some questions and then we will finish. Let's work this out. Let's put the large razor there. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, I would like you to write these fractions as mixed numerals and these mixed numerals as improper fractions. So let's do the first. Okay, so write these mixed numerals as improper fractions. Let's do 1/7, 2¼ 3 2/5. And then you can write these improper fractions as mixed numerals. Okay, so pause the video and off you go. Okay, hopefully you've done that now. So let's write the answers down. 1 times 7 is 7, plus the 1 is 8/7. 2 times 4 is 8, plus the 1 is 9/4. 3 times 5 is 15, plus the 2 is 17/5. There are 2 5s in 11, and there's 1 left over. There's 1 5 in 7, and there is remainder 2 left over. There's 1 9 in 11, and there's 2 left over. Okay, so hopefully fractions are a little bit more clear to you. There are other videos which you will need to look at for the test. The next video is equivalent fractions, which we've looked at a little bit already in this video. Okay, make sure you watch video number 2. Well done.